Here we go. All right. I think we're recording. So, hello, hello. Welcome to the Mind is Mine podcast, video cast, or whatever. It's on YouTube. We're just posting it. Yes. As professional doctors, just wanting to give out to the community and educate people on just various mental health topics. And today's topic is can't do a drum roll, but drum roll. Black men, or not black men, but men in general, but we'll be talking
Mhm.
more about black men, however you want to discuss it. Men's mental health with Dr. Xavier Small. So just Xavier or Dr. Small, can you give people just a little insight to your world, like maybe where you're from, what you do
Mhm.
primarily, and then I can always put your information in the chat box too.
For sure. Well, first off, Dr. Stallworth, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. Yes, like it was mentioned, I'm Dr. Xavier Small. I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling and then a PhD in counselor education and supervision. Yay, yay, yay. So I have two jobs that function in the same 40-hour week, which is super wild that I get to have that opportunity. But in one area, I'm counseling center director for a counseling center for a large ministry. Our church runs probably around 1,300 people. At its peak, so it's pretty big. And so I oversee counseling operations for that organization. And then I'm also an outpatient community mental health internship coordinator. So like I either oversee or provide task supervision for master's level interns. I currently have four master's level intern babies right now. And so actually just finished supervision with one of them just before I hopped on. So that's a lot of fun. And then we see people with more pervasive disorders, bipolar psychotic features, depression psychotic features, schizoaffective, schizophrenia, early onset symptoms of DID, bipolar, or sorry, borderline. So all that stuff, the heavier things. So one area is like more of the worries and woes, your private, private counseling, and then like community mental health. So between the two of those things, they keep me very busy.
Yes, yes, that's a lot of
Yes.
work and a lot of
Mhm.
insight. So thank you for,
Mhm.
just giving us a background a little bit more about like what you do on a daily basis at your work.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm super excited because as you know, maybe many people who are watching, maybe they don't know, but it's about 2% of like African American counselors, right? So I'm happy that I found you and I know you as part of the 2%, but I'm wondering what kind of led you to this type of work. So what led you to mental health work?
So believe it or not, I never even planned to be a therapist, let alone a PhD in CES. Actually, my undergrad is actually in ministry, so I went to school to be a minister. And that's really what I was doing. And then so life kind of did some twists and turns. I was a youth pastor at a place, and then my lead pastor ended up telling us that he was moving to Texas. So I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I think we going to Texas because like we clicked. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I guess we going to Texas. Another ministry wanted him to come on. He considered it, got some mentorship from his mentors, and he was gonna go. And I'm like, I guess we're going too. And then he didn't invite me, and I was devastated. He said, actually, I'm going to recommend you be the next lead pastor of this church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what ended up happening. So at 27, I became one of the youngest pastors in Central Florida. And I come from a low socioeconomic background. And the church really like supported me. So my family, so we did a lot of that stuff. We did food ministry. We were able to get like people in the community connected to like Medicaid and Medicare, WIC, formula. Like we were connected with Target, Amazon, Walmart, a couple other bigger ministries. We were like getting people appliances for free, refurnishing homes for free. So like I was big on like community resources. Our church was on 16 acres, nine of it was buildable. So we had a community garden happening in the back where like
Mm-hmm.
people were literally, so I was big on that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, the closest mental health center is like 30 minutes away. And I don't like that. I want us to have something right here in the city. And so I enrolled in school. And so I did that with the intentions of building a counseling center there. This was in Orlando at the time. And then while I was in Orlando, we're doing this. Our outreach program is going well. We're loving on the community. A friend of mine who I went to undergrad with in Baltimore called me like, "Hey, we want to build this counseling center here, and we would like you to come and build it for us." And I'm like, "No, I got something to do. Like, I got like, we got work to do in Orlando." You know what I mean? And long story short, I did end up in Baltimore. I'm actually in Baltimore now, building that counseling center. And so when I moved here, I got connected to this wonderful, beautiful person, Dr. Tracy Hunt. And I felt like it was just like a spiritual encounter. And we got connected, and that's where I finished internship. And then I got some supervision while I was building the counseling center at the ministry. And then I finished school. I had one semester to go when I moved to Baltimore. And then my mentor, Dr. Tracy Hunt, was like, "Would you think about going to school?" And I'm like, "Are you nuts? I don't want to. I'm not doing no extra school, but I'm a big fan of if you allow someone to mentor you, you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying, and tell them and give them permission to speak into your life, you should seriously consider everything that they said. So on a Friday, she told me about, on Friday, she told me, you should consider going to get your PhD. And by Monday, I had applied. And long story short, voila, 3.5, 3 years later, here we are.
Yes.
You know
Yes,
what I
here
mean?
we
So that's
are.
the Cliff Notes version, the long, not so long version. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much
So,
because now I know a little bit more about you and like
hmm
your ministry history and how you
Yeah.
got from Florida to Baltimore. And shout out to
Yeah.
Dr. Tracy Hunt. That's who I graduated
Yeah.
with too. Hopefully we can get her to
Yeah.
come on the podcast as well.
Be live. That'd be
So
live.
if she's watching, shout out to her. We love you.
hmm hmm
Okay, but to dive into our topic today, I'm wondering again with mental health or men mental health, what are some most common mental health concerns that you feel like are affecting men today?
Oh, big question. I think first and foremost, I think a lot of identity is a huge part of it. As you look at like the developmental cycle for men, there's like that dreamer phase, and then that like prove myself phase, and then like that establishment phase, and then like the look back on my life to see if I'm proud of the things that I've done. And I
Hmm.
think men being all along that spectrum is a huge deal. So for instance, I have a lot of clients, male clients right now who are between like 22 and 28, and all of them that I'm seeing right now all have the same issue. They are they're in that window of trying to establish their lives and they're unhappy with their progress,
Hmm.
right? And the American dream, right? By 25, you should have the wife, the car, the house, the picket fence, the 401k, the Roth IRA. You should have $50,000 in savings. You should, you know what I mean? All that other stuff. And so, of course, like there's a lot more that goes into that than just those dreams, right? Your profession plays a role in that. Where you are in your profession plays a role, and that the economy plays a role in some of those things. And so, trying to have to like, I see a lot of the comment is healthy manhood has
Hmm.
been an important component, and a lot of it has been like giving men permission to not be where you want to be, and that not take away from your worth. Like looking at your life as a spectrum, and that everybody is different on different phases of that spectrum, and being okay with where you are and how to like provide room for your emotions and give
Hmm.
yourself permission to feel whatever levels of despondency come from that, while simultaneously building the path and the trajectory that you want. So I feel like a lot of the big stuff that I'm seeing in men's mental health center around healthy emotional regulation and then navigating their life stage.
Yeah. And then their life
hmm
stage that you're saying, you're primarily seeing some of these people are in their 20s too, right? So
hmm
if someone's watching this in their 30s and 40s, then they may be a little bit past that. But something
hmm
that I think that you're speaking to overall for men's mental health is like that societal pressure that a lot of men feel. And everybody could be through all stages, like older adults, like that's in their 40s and stuff, they could be transitioning from a career
hmm
to another career at that time. And that's typically in our mid 30s and 40s is what we do, just life development and the things that we
hmm
kind of just know as counselors happens
Yeah.
as well. But
hmm
that also made me think about something else that's really big as you talk about the economy and like all the other things that we are dealing with in the world today is good old social media, right? And how I think that
hmm
also influences maybe their self-esteem or like how you just said that comparing or that self-worth, right? So I'm wondering like what you have experienced when working with men's mental health. How do you feel like maybe social media has maybe impact their mental health? Do you feel like it's an unrealistic expectation on success? Of course, you've said that
hmm
before, but I guess just
hmm
more things like maybe what do you think about social media and men's
hmm
health? And
hmm
maybe tell me some healthier,
hmm
I don't know, digital habits or something
Yeah.
of that nature.
For sure. If I'm being transparent, I think social media is more harmful than helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like I'm tapped into the world, so I have the things, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. I have even Reddit, what I mean, and some of those other things. I think the hard part is that like social media just shows you the highlights of everyone's life. Like
Mm-hmm.
no one's the grand majority of people are not going to show you like when they're down on their luck, or they're going to show you like those feelings of despondency. We go through our camera roll and we pick the best pictures that we took from the evening, and then we put it in Lightroom or Photoshop and touch it up before we even post it. You know what I mean? So like being able to take some of those moments, and I think that's difficult. And to be transparent, I'm very happy with my life. I really am. But it won't take long on social media for me to start to for that to be challenged. I love cars. I love cars. I drive a little 2015 Chevy Malibu. It's paid off. You know what I mean? It's nothing like that. But like I love a good Porsche 911. You know what I mean? And then so all it takes is me to look up a Porsche one time for my feed to be flooded with them every time I log on. And like that can create like discontentment, with where I am. Am I willing to go into debt to like try to pull
Mm-hmm.
off something? First off, I can't afford no Porsche, but like, you know what I mean? But like but that pressure is very real. I think a lot of times people look at it from like a body image standpoint for women, and that and that's a major thing, but like all of those pressures exist for men too, seeing other men doing this or having that, and um showing some of those different stuff. I mean, I see people on social media. I'm 35. I see 22-year-olds who are millionaires. You know what I mean? Just kind of like, dang, what were they doing that I didn't do? And I took this track toward becoming a doctor, but maybe I should have went into psychiatry instead. It's so easy to just like
Mm-hmm.
those comparison models. And I think one or two things need to happen, maybe three things. But I think one is a healthy expectation going into social media, realizing that the most things are doctored, most things are going to be the best parts or the benefits of people's lives. Some people have different starting points. Just having the grass, if the grass is greener on the other side, it's because their manure is different. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so being able to like um, take social media with a grain of salt is a very important foundational element before you even open the app. I think at the same time, like if it is too much for you, I have plenty of male friends who are not on social media at all. They're not on any of the things. They don't have an Instagram, a Facebook, a TikTok. They don't have any of those things for that stuff. They don't want to put things in front of their eyes that's going to create discontentment with their lives. And it's not even just things, it's even bodies. You know what I mean? I actually came across a picture. I was looking for something in my Google Photos yesterday, and I'm a big gym rat. Big gym rat, and so I work out often. I'm going today after work. And I found pictures of me at 23. You know what I mean? And that, well, I got on the scale today. I'm 175 pounds. I might have been 160 at that time, but just a lot more shredded and more abs and more capped shoulders. And it's just kind of like very easy. It can be like, oh, what do I look like now? You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to just to look at these different things, and like the natural phenomenon that will happen is discontentment with where you are. And if you can keep that in check, you know what I'm saying, then, I think go ahead, engage as much as you want. But I think if you have that difficulty in those comparison components, I think it's important to make sure that you have a healthy perspective where it might be time to limit or completely unplug. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just how I approach it.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. And I think you touched on a little bit of things that I think lead me to my next questions related to men's mental health, which is like about depression and anxiety and what those things kind of look like. So
Mhm.
we often talk about what that I feel like depression looks like for a woman or a black woman,
Mhm.
how we become irritable and all those things. But I'm
Mhm.
wondering what might depression present, like how will it present differently, I guess, with men than
Mhm.
it does with women? Or
Yeah.
like with some signs that we know like men are maybe struggling emotionally and
Mhm.
how can a man know that he's struggling with it and how can other people around him know, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, great thought. Of course, we live in a society that broad strokes women as the emotional ones and broad strokes men as not being emotional. But that's fundamentally untrue. I think the way that we process and show those emotions are different. But for instance, a lot of times men will portray anger, right? And people think, I'm not an emotional person. I was like, but look how irritable you are. You know what I mean? Look how short-tempered you are. I was in a conversation with some other individuals, some high level leaders, and they were talking about how the times are different. We're having a conversation on Gen Z, and they're like, "Well, men of old didn't do this. They weren't as emotional as the men are today." And I was like, "Yeah. Do you think?" What did it look like? Because he's coming home from work and he's cracking a beer, sitting on the sofa, not talking to his family, snapping at his wife. I'm like, you don't think that that's the same thing? You know what I mean? And so being able to have some of those moments of recognizing, um, when we talk about therapy, we talk about coping and functioning. And an inability to cope is going to be an inability to function. And so when you see that there's some functional issues happening in your life, that's going to be a telltale sign. Like you can't interact with your family well. You can't interact with your friends well. You're finding yourself being more isolated, short-tempered, unwilling to go out, feeling despondent, feeling like nobody understands me or no one cares about me. Those are some good signs that you're going through some mental health red flags because men because of societal standards will internalize. So it might be a little harder to show in men because men typically are just like the stoic. We don't smile. We don't, you know what I'm saying? But those people who are closest to you will notice because there'll be those unpleasant components or that they're connected to. So I think that's probably how you'll find it in seeing someone else. But for the man, that's in intrapersonalization, being able to say like, oh, I'm recognized that I am short. That I find myself withdrawing from other people, thinking who cares or what's the point, or some of those moments. That's when you'll see it really, really happening is those detachment and an inability to be able to engage in the things that you enjoy will probably be some of the biggest signs that you'll see for men
Okay.
having some mental health challenges.
Yeah, that's a good tip for us. It sounds like for us women or just friends who see a man that's going through some type of mental health
Mhm,
issues, then the
mhm,
detachment could possibly be a red flag, seeing them doing things that's kind of out of the norm. But it also sounds like it's a lot of internal work for the man as well, because
mhm,
most of what you all are saying is like you internalize those things, right? So we wouldn't
mhm.
necessarily know that you're internalizing certain things because you're masking it first. And it may take us time to recognize maybe some of the symptoms that you're having, but what you also are saying is like, hey, as a man, you got to know when you're starting to feel those feelings yourself and then be willing and able or open to addressing those things as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so for the individual who's connecting with whoever that man is in your life, a spouse, a partner, a sibling, a friend, is men only need really one or two times of not being met with that correctly to never do it ever again.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And so for the person who is trying to facilitate more emotional openness in that man in your life, whatever position he has, is being able to, number one, create an environment of safety. Hey, you can come and talk to me and know that I won't judge you for how you feel, no matter what you're feeling. And then number two, being able to be a good listener, right? Listening to understand, not listening to respond. Because as soon as the man feels unheard, I know I'm speaking generally, but as soon as the man feels unheard, he's gonna say, "Well, what's the point? Y'all don't hear us anyway. I see it on social media every day. What's the point? Y'all don't care about us anyway. You don't care how we think or how we feel anyway. So what's the point?" And once you slip into the what's the point, you'll never get it back.
hmm
You know what I mean? So, and I think a third thing is being able to go in there and ask on purpose, how are you doing today for real?
hmm
And so I'm big on I let everybody in my life know that when I ask how are you doing, it's not a nicety or me being cordial. I genuinely would like to know how you are. And
hmm
being able to let people know that, hey, I'm working on facilitating a space that is open for you to commune with me, can definitely help to facilitate some more open up conversations.
Yeah, yeah. You touched on so many awesome points, and it just makes me wonder, like, when we think about like the Black community or Black men, then do you feel like it's some additional unique stressors that we may be missing talking about right now that or even marginalized communities, right? Not just Black men, but like marginalized communities, like maybe experiencing to I guess who they are as people and how that may be impacting their mental health as well.
Yeah, I think we got to talk to it from a community standpoint to kind of break the stigma. Mental health and health altogether are stigmatized components. If I had a dollar for every time I heard white people is a de depression is a white people problem.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is a white people problem. We can't afford to be depressed. We can't afford, that's where that toxic masculinity comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that suppression of your feeling, the repression of your feeling, and negative emotions will manifest themselves. So that's why the black man is characterized as like this angry black man. This angry black man. It's kind of like, well, anger is typically a secondary emotion. There's usually other things, what I'm saying, going on. They're feeling the stress or of meeting their family needs or not being able to meet their family needs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. So I think it begins with the destigmatization of mental health, what I'm saying, in the BIPOC communities, what I mean, so that we can begin to have the conversations for the individual, what I mean? And so being able to have that psychoeducation of like you're saying you're not an emotional person, but that's why this is emotional. That's why when you're doing this, that's emotional. That's emotional. So you're not giving attention to it, but they still exist. And I think that's a big part of it is they just think, well, as long as I'm not addressing it, it's not happening. But it's like a baby who's covering their eyes and saying and thinking that because I'm covering my eyes, you can't see me. I
Mm-hmm.
can see you just fine, my love. You know what I mean? And them being able to realize like, hey, it's present, whether or not you want to give credit to it or not, are you gonna address it now that we've
Mm-hmm.
brought light to it? And so I think that's just kind of some of those components, especially in different marginalized communities, the family systems. We don't bring this stuff out of the house. That's an in-house problem. You know what I mean? Like in all the cultural components of
Mm-hmm.
that. And so historically, black communities specifically are very anti mental health establishments, and for good reasons. I mean, from a mental health standpoint, like 40s, 50s, 60s, black people were being uh, uh, performed experiments on, what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
for trials, and so the community remembers, what I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
not only that, but in the health community as well. So they don't want to go to the doctor, what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. They don't want to go and get that test. They don't
Or
want
they
to
might not
check their
even want to trust
prostate.
us.
Yes, they exactly, and it's kind of like, nah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to engage in whole destigmatization is a natural first step if that barrier exists
Mm-hmm.
before we can get to some individual work.
Yes, yes. How do you as a counselor maybe work through that barrier with
Mhm.
men in general or black men, however you
Mhm.
prefer to answer the question?
Yeah, I think I have an advantage because I am a black man,
Mm,
right?
right.
Representation matters. Um, I've had some clients, even here. I'm at the clinic right now. I'm not at my office at the church, but I'm at the clinic right now, and I had some individuals who maybe had like white therapists, male or female, and I'm getting them referred to me, and they're just kind of like, this person is belligerent, like they are non-compliant, blah 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 blah, and then they get with me. We have no issues. I'm thinking about one client specifically. We've been together 3 years now. Not a single problem. Not a single problem. And I'm looking through his case notes and like he's cussing me out. He's da 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 da. Da. Like he's not. I can't deal with this. We're gonna discharge him, and then we have no problems. And I think just me, just being present. Not only that, I'm young enough to be able to speak to the young men. Old enough to have some credibility with the older men. I have several clients who are 45 and up. You know what I mean? And so they initially come in here and they be like, "Oh, who's this young pup?" You know what I mean? In this space, but then I come in here and I have the psychoeducation and I provide an environment that they can say, "Hey, black man, I see you," and just my presence by itself is a disarming mechanism. I don't think I've had to discharge any black male therapist, that black male clients due to service related issues.
Mm-hmm.
Just even if we don't necessarily have anything in common, which I don't think is necessary to be a therapist, but they feel related to just because I'm there, and a black male therapist for even black women, the same thing. And so I always pride myself on having the OGs, what I mean, the OGs therapists, because like I have a lot of like older black men. I have one right after our podcast. We have a activities room and we're gonna go shoot pool while we talk. You know what I mean? And just being able to have that openness, and they naturally let me in because yeah, I side eye mental health, but if you're here, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to
Mm-hmm.
naturally be adored just because I exist.
Yeah, and I think you also spoke to a lot of other pieces. I could talk to you forever about things, but it just sounds like um Also, the ability to be able to counsel outside of the room. I think a lot of times people think that when you go to counseling, then you're sitting on this couch, right? You're
Hmm.
going through all the formalities of what you see on TV, and that's just not true. But it also sounds like you have the ability in your practice or wherever you practice, you have, like how you said, you can go shoot pool and things like that. So I think, what would we say to the men, black men or men, period, who are seeking services that don't have people that look like them because that's more
Hmm.
likely of what will happen. I mean, we could try to find black people in the areas, and I definitely could try my best to provide any type of links once they watch this video. But again, sometimes it's hard for them. So what things? Because it also seems like black men or men, period, are coming to counseling when it's at that crisis peak, right? So I'm
Oof.
wondering, what would you say about that to I feel like I'm all over the place, but hopefully you get my
I'm
question.
following you. I'm tracking
Okay,
you.
great.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
I'm
tracking
basically
you.
asking like, how do we help these men who don't see you or see black
Hmm.
men in the space, right? How can we help them? What type of advocacy would you say they need to advocate for when they're in that space with a white man or a white woman
Yeah.
as a therapist, things like that?
For sure. So the first thing is Dr. Hunt actually she called me a unicorn. She said, "You know what's rare, Xavier?" I said, "What?" She said, "A black male therapist." She said, "You know what's even rarer than that?" I said, "What?" She said, "A black counselor educator." She's like, "You truly are a unicorn." And both programs, I only had individuals that I walked with. I think at the Chicago school, I was the first black man to graduate from CES. I think I'm the first one.
Nice.
And then in my master's program, I only had two black men that were with me in any of my classes the entire 3 years. So over 6 years of advanced education, there's only two of us.
Hmm.
So that's insight to just how many of us do not exist in a lot of those places. And then so when they are there, you can imagine. I don't keep a wait list anymore, but wait lists are long because they want a
Hmm.
black male therapist.
Hmm.
So I would say be willing to look first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with having that preference and looking to find someone. We exist, don't lose hope. The second thing is don't discount someone else of another race or ethnic background. As counselors, while being able to understand the plight of the black man gives me an advantage, it does not mean that everyone else's services are obsolete. You know what I mean? And so be willing to give a Hispanic or Asian or Indian or white Caucasian therapist a shot, trusting that they number one have their biases in check. Number two, are willing to go on the multicultural journey with you to learn about you specifically. And then three, don't be willing to speak up and say the things that, hey, like, not that it's your responsibility to teach your therapist how to be multiculturally competent, but don't necessarily means that you have to just let something slide because you are uncomfortable or a topic is uncomfortable or the way that they approached you on something is uncomfortable. I use very relaxed talk. I mean, yesterday, I saw a client yesterday and I went and got the client from the lobby. And while we are walking to my office, she said something about something that she was doing in her personal life, which really wasn't that wild. It was something like, I don't know, going for a walk out in the middle of the day or whatever. I'm like, you did that, girl, you crazy. And she was like, hey, easy on the crazy talk. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? I forgot who I was for a second. I'm like, who I am and in this space is not inappropriate. You know what I mean? And not trusting that I wasn't going to be offended when she checked me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And it's like, hey, that's a little bit too casual for the space, easy and and being willing to trust a therapeutic alliance to carry some of the unknowns because here's the truth, even as a black man with black clients, I still don't have all the facts on who they are as a person.
Hmm.
I'm still going to have to learn them anyway. Yes, this gets me in the door and maybe gets the guard down faster, but I still have to learn you. And so
Yeah,
your therapist is going to have to learn about you anyway, so just
definitely.
go after what you want, but don't be afraid to advocate for what you like or what you dislike for somebody who doesn't look like you.
Okay, I have some practical questions that if
Sure.
someone is interested and they start to look at therapy after they watch our video, then I'm wondering a few things, which
Hmm.
is, I guess, how would they know that a therapist is like a good fit or like culturally competent? What kind of signals do you think that a man should kind of look for when they are doing service? Of course, fill them out and maybe ask some personal questions that they feel are important to them. But I'm curious to know, what would you think?
The therapeutic alliance is a big component of that. The therapeutic alliance is a very fancy pants phrase for like how well we fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? How well we fit and the trajectory of our ability to walk through this process together. And research shows that the therapeutic alliance is established between sessions 1 and 3, the highest chance. Like if you'll know in the first 3 sessions if this is going to work, and being able to just click. You know what I mean? Because the truth is, not only are you feeling me out as your therapist, but I'm feeling you out as my client. We're
Mm-hmm.
both doing the same thing on seeing like if this is going to be actually like a good fit for us. And so not being willing to go in there open-minded and just see if we gel. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have all the information quite yet. I'm not saying therapist hop, but I'm saying like give it a chance to see like can we at least groove? You know what I mean? If we can't, then we might have to look at some other components. But aside from just like filling it out, asking questions, it is important to just like let the process do its job for two or
Mm-hmm.
three sessions and see where you get, you know what I mean? And seeing if that will work. So you have to just be willing to give it a little bit of time and see if the process will link you guys together, or if you'll say, you know what, we've been through 3 sessions and I don't know that I like this, or
Mm-hmm.
that this is a good fit, you know what I mean? And that gives them a chance to either correct some things or ask some clarifying questions themselves. Um, or what I'm saying, give you some resources. As a therapist, I am very proactive on that first session to bring that to the forefront. And I'll say things like, I think we're a good fit. What do you think? I think that we'll make some good work. We'll do some good things. And and usually if I say that, they usually meet me at that very same place. And then I have some clients that's like, I don't know. Let's see. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And so, which is okay. Which
Yeah.
is okay. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so, I had one client, we just hit a year together. And I said, I'll call her Jenna. And I'll say, Jenna, we just hit a year in this. And she said, congratulations, you know how to do your job. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, she's like, because I'm gonna let you know, I didn't like my last therapist. And if you weren't going to work, I was not going to come back. And, and I think that's important to be able to have that
Mm-hmm.
open dialogue, you know what I mean? Because then it brings credibility to the space, you
Yes, most
know?
definitely. You have to feel comfortable with your therapist. And I love how you said give it a chance, right? Because that was
Mhm.
one of my questions. What should someone expect within their first few sessions? But you answered it. It's really about just doing a dance to get to know someone. Just showing up
Mhm.
as your authentic self and letting the therapist and you kind of see how you all land and if it's a good
Mhm.
fit or not. Right? It's just
Yeah.
building a relationship, but it's just building a working relationship, I like to say, with
Yeah.
someone to figure out what's happening with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Okay. So I
Mhm.
know we only have about 5 minutes left. I try to keep them short.
Oof,
So
time
I
flew.
have, I know it's so hard because I could talk to you for some time. But I do have like, I guess some closing questions. I also have like some random like questions that I just randomly think about that I put on here
Yeah.
that I'm going to ask. So I
Hit
guess
me.
in closing, is it anything that you want to say that maybe we didn't address or say that you feel like is important for men to hear?
Yeah. Just go.
Just go.
Just go.
All
You
right.
have all these fears and thoughts and concerns. Just go. I'd rather you, as a black man, go see a 70-year-old white lady, you know what I mean? And that could hold space and give you the room that you don't have anywhere else just to hear you, and then to have nothing, because negative emotions will always manifest themselves. So you deal with it or it'll deal with you. And if it deals with you, it's going to deal with you in ways that you don't have a say. People develop migraines, muscle spasms, bowel issues. Women go into early menopause. The
Mhm.
body secretes different chemicals depending on what you're navigating, whether that's cortisol or, whatever it might mean. And you don't want your body to take it from you.
Mhm.
You control how it goes. And so if you internalize it, it's going to catch up with you. That's why our black men are dying young. You know what I mean? Because like all the stress that we carry, and you need healthy wellness practices to manage acute stress. Just go.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
Just go.
Just go. I love that. And then to be fair, like it. when researching more questions to ask,
Mhm.
it did talk about how a lot of men die from suicide, and I think that's a part of them just internalizing and keeping a lot of those things to themselves. Um,
Absolutely.
yes. So
Absolutely.
my random questions that I thought of is like, I know they're just so random,
No,
but
you're
I
good.
thought
You're good.
about, with it Father's Day just passing and all of those
Mhm.
things, what's one conversation that you feel like every father should have with their son?
Oh my gosh.
I
I love
know
this
that's
question.
probably that could be deep, but
I love
yes,
this
I'm just
question.
wondering that. What's one conversation every father should have with their son?
It's okay to be emotional.
Mm, love
It's
that.
okay to be emotional. Emotions are God-given. I never correct my children on their emotions. I don't believe in overreacting. I
Mm-hmm.
know that sounds crazy because we have children and children just be falling out and doing all the other stuff. But I have 80-year-olds. My oldest client ever was 81. And she was just as emotionally dysregulated. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is we respond how we know how to respond. Like you can tell your son that it's okay to be emotional. This is how you hone those emotions and handle them. You know what I'm saying? So like I watched this video one time of like a man, his son came into the room and he's wailing.
Mm,
And he's looking him over. Are you hurting? Are you okay? He's like, no, just this happened and that happened. And he's like, son, like, if you're not hurt, you don't have to respond like that. You are intellectual and you're intellectual enough to communicate your thoughts and feelings in a controlled manner. He never, not one time did he say that he's overdoing it. He's just saying like, you can reserve that for an emergency.
mm-hmm,
You can reserve that for an emergency. Here is how you can get the same things accomplished with less intensity. And I just
mm-hmm,
thought that that was so good because not one time did he say, "Boy, shut up." You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
He didn't do that. He was just like, "Hey, like you don't have to do it like that."
mm-hmm,
And that was even before I remember that video before I even became a therapist. And I now that I have my own children, I do the same thing where I'll just say like, "Hey, I'll talk to, I only have girls right now, but I'll tell my daughter, I'm like, if you're upset, why don't you go to your room and take a breather?
mm-hmm,
Go to your room and do your thing. Go in there, throw your stuffies, yell, scream, do all the stuff. And then when you're ready to talk, let's come back down and have a conversation." And
mm-hmm,
she'll say, "Daddy, I'm done. Can I come out now?" And she's much more because what we know from research is that when someone is elevated, they can't rationalize.
mm-hmm,
So if I'm gonna yell at you while you're upset, you're only gonna become more irrational, and then I'm gonna get mad, and now we're both in. So why don't I give you a second to come down? You know what I'm saying? And then we can talk through whatever your challenge is. And certainly I'm not perfect, but I land there way more than I don't. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? And so if you teach your son to be more emotionally available, how to tap in and hone those emotions, then he is going to be much better communicator to you, to his teachers, to his friends, and to his own partner or spouse or children in the future because you taught him healthy emotional regulation.
mm-hmm,
So don't, and if you're telling your son, stop being a little girl, stop all that other stuff. That might be a better reflection of you not being in touch with your own emotions and the discomfort that you have with them. So it might send you to therapy instead. So just keep
mm-hmm.
that in mind. Keep that in mind. So that's my thought about that.
Yes, yes, that was a great thought. That was a great thought because even at the end, you talked a little bit about that toxic masculinity. Again,
Hmm.
with us not having feelings. Remember, feelings of anger, frustration, irritability, all of those things are still an emotion. So we can't say
Yeah,
we don't have them at all.
for
Um,
sure.
yes. Okay. Two more questions, and then I promise that'll be in.
We
Um,
good.
so one, I'm curious to know if one like was just trying to improve his mental health. It sounds like you talked about coping skills that they can do right, maybe going to the gym, exercising, or whatever else the case may be. But isn't any other daily habits that you feel like someone, a man can do that would help them? Is it a book? Is it a podcast? Is it a resource? Like,
Mhm.
what would you
Mhm.
recommend?
Take a moment every day to just check in with yourself.
Mm, okay.
How am I feeling in the moment? How do I feel? Why do I feel it? Have I given myself permission to feel it? And then what do I want to do about it? Taking that second to just ground and orient yourself to the space. You can do it that way. You could do it with like a relaxation technique. Take a few minutes in the beginning of your day for a deep breath. Or for me, as a matter of fact, my office here at the clinic has no windows. That's not even a window, that's another room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so one of my favorite practices is usually in the middle of the day, I will go outside and I will just close my eyes and feel the sun on my skin.
Mm.
and just I could feel the vitality just like recharging me. You know what I mean? Just taking a second to not be a therapist or a father or a husband or a friend or a son. You know what I mean? Being able to just go out there and just connect and ground myself with my environment, with myself. Take a second to just check in with you and say, how you doing? And I know when I'm exhausted or irritable or grumpy, and I'll text my wife on the way home. I'm like, babe, I'm trying to collect myself, but like I'm really having a day. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And when I get home, I'm gonna probably just go into my office and then just take a second and just decompress. You know what I mean? And so, but I'm very big on just taking a moment to just check in with you, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean, to see where you are, and that could really help set you up for success.
Thank you. I love that. I'm like so
Hmm.
deep. I realize I'm not even like like smiling as much because I'm so like just listening. Like it's so good. Okay. So my final question that I have for you too is I think that a lot of women may watch this video too. That could just be my
Hmm.
own perception, but I
Hmm.
think as partners, or it doesn't have to be women. It's your partner. It could be a man as
Hmm.
well. So when we
Yeah.
think about partners and trying to assist our partners, I think a lot of times we try to fix the problem for them or fix them. So how can like partners support men without feeling responsible, I guess, for fixing it?
Hmm. Three things.
Okay,
Three things.
I'm
Number
ready.
one, ask how are they feeling, right? Get into that habit. How are you feeling right now? How are you
Okay.
feeling right now?
And mean
Um,
it.
and mean it, right? Number two, ask them why they feel it, right? Behind every emotion is a laundry list of reasons behind it, right? And then the third thing, which everybody needs to work on, right, is how can I help?
Hmm.
What we do is we have a preconceived ideas of what we think would be best for that person. And instead of asking them what they need or what they want and taking their word for it, we give them what we think that they need. But if you're doing what you want and not what they want, they're not going to feel loved, they're not going to be heard, they're not going to feel respected. I saw a video on TikTok probably like a month or two ago, and it was a woman who came outside, and her husband, she came outside, she has her phone, and her husband is in the car in the driveway. And she says, Gregory, why are you in the car? Are
Hmm.
you are you sleeping in the car? And he's like, yeah, I just need a minute. And then she's like, why are you in the car? Come in the house. And he's like, I just can't rest in there. I just need a minute to just
Hmm.
collect myself. I just need to close my eyes for a minute. I'll just give me a few minutes. I'll come in the house. She's like, no, don't be out here. You know what I'm saying? Come in the house. Come get in your bed. Come in. And she's not listening to him. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He told her what she needed. He's like, okay, well, the correct response would have been like, okay, if you need a minute, and I mean, and you can still revisit that conversation later, but in that moment he's communicating what he needs, and that you hear him getting agitated, like, I just needed a minute, I just needed a
Hmm.
minute. And so be willing to not just, I did this, I did that, but just saying like, how can I support you right here in this moment? And for a lot of people, they'll just say, the fact that you asked me was big, thank you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or I could use a back rub, or make me some tea. We're big tea fans in our house. You know what I mean? So my wife will just know, like, hey, she'll come to me and she'll just say, like, hey, like, I know, like, you're feeling X, Y, and Z. You know, you want me to make you some chamomile? You know what I mean? Do you want a snack? Do you want to da 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 da? Or she'll just be like, yeah, if you want, like, just go get in the bed, and like, I'll keep the kids down here or whatever. So we try to offer those things to each other. But like, what they feel, why they feel it, and how I can support and
Hmm.
mean it. Sometimes we're like, oh, well, they said this, but that's dumb. If that's what they need in the moment, then that's what they need in the moment, and trust that. And they
Hmm.
will feel heard, they will feel loved, they'll be supported. Sometimes it's gonna just be like, no, just sit with me. I'm a very physical touch is my love language, and so a good hug will do it for me. You know what I mean? Or sometimes just say, I just need a minute. If you just give me a minute to just collect myself, I'll be okay, and then just letting them have that. And so
Hmm.
the big top three things you could do today.
Yeah.
Today. Text that man. Watch while you're watching this. Text him right now and just say, "Hey, how are you feeling today?" You'll be
Yeah.
shocked. You're gonna be like, "What? How am I feeling?
Hmm. Hmm.
Nobody's asked me that in a
Hmm.
while." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and I think
so,
like the hardest thing that you said for me too is like not judging what their support looks like, right? So we could think that something like, how is this supportive? This isn't supportive, or
mhm,
how is this going to be supportive, right? It doesn't matter. It's what they said is supportive to them, and we just have to
yeah,
honor that. And I think sometimes we could get caught up in that too, like, well, we could do
yeah,
this and this could be better, right? If we did it this
yeah,
way. And I think that
yeah.
if we start to have that train of thought too, then just know that we're going into that fixing mode, and they didn't ask for that. They
Hmm.
said exactly what they needed. So that was very good. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Dr. Small, for talking with us today. I greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to more conversations.
Thank you. Please have me back anytime.
Yes, 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 I will.